What's up YouTube? My name is Andrew Schlesinger and I am currently a mid-level engineer in the greater Charlotte area. Today I wanted to talk about what software engineering career paths are in the software engineering career field. I want to first dive into the types of software engineering and then get into the general career paths that you should expect in your journey as a software engineer, or if you're trying to decide if software engineering is right for you. So generally the types of software engineers, there's three categories that I like to think of. You have front-end engineering, you have back-end engineering, and then you have DevOps engineering. Usually front-end is everything that the user sees, so client, tools, websites, things of those natures. Back-end is everything that happens behind the scenes, so if you're working on a web app, it's usually a system backend service that works with a database of some sort and some other technologies there as well. DevOps is basically the third one. Sometimes it gets grouped into the backend engineering career field, but I like to keep it as a separate, because usually in most companies there are going to be a separate team or there's somebody specifically devoted to DevOps engineering. This is usually somebody that takes care of the infrastructure or kind of the cloud configuration. So generally, what should you expect in the software engineering career as you progress through the role ranks? So the first step is usually an intern position or a junior developer position. The interns are usually out of college, where there's normally during the summer or fall or spring semesters, whereas junior developers are full-time employees, usually, that are trying to learn the ropes and just trying to figure out and get a grasp around a lot of the basics of software engineering. And this is nothing against junior developers or anything like that. Every company understands when they bring a junior developer on that they're going to have to mentor that person and show them the ropes. So there's nothing to worry about there. So usually you're in that position for an intern a couple summers, depending on what career or where you're at with your degree. But if you're a junior developer, you're usually in the junior developer position for about 6 months to a year and a half before you make it to the associate level. When you come out of college with a degree, you usually start at the associate level. So at that point in time, everybody's pretty much on the same playing field. In most companies, there are some companies that do require about 4 years of experience before they kind of equate that to a degree, but that's generally to the older companies out there that you might work for, but it's just something I wanted to note. So when you make it to the associate level, you're pretty much treated as a real engineer. You start growing as more defined roles. You'll start experiencing taking on smaller and bigger initiatives than you were as a junior developer, and start owning those and owning pieces of the code base and stuff like that. From there, you're normally in that position or that level for about a year or two before you can move up to what is called the mid-level engineer, which is basically everybody that's not an associate and is not a senior level. You're still trying to hone your skills and learn experience different implementations of why you want to do things and why you don't want to do things. And this is where you'll get a lot of your knowledge and a lot of your experience that will propel you further on. So during those 3 years, so normally it takes about 3 to 5 years of experience total to get to a mid-level engineer. But after that, you go to a senior level engineer, which is usually 4 to about 6, depending on the company you're at. I've seen 4 to 8 years of experience normally generalize into the senior position. But everybody's still on the same playing field, no matter if you have a degree or not after that point, depending on the company. This is where you'll be kind of managing your team. You'll be kind of learning how to mentor even more than you were as a mid, but generally owning and helping out other engineers below you, owning projects, bigger initiatives as far as like a whole system upgrade or something like that. That's normally what a senior engineer does. And then from that point on, this is where it kind of gets tricky. A senior engineer gets to choose if they want to go down the people management track or if they just want to stay coding. This is one of the biggest decisions that a lot of software engineers take, because a lot of us get into this because we like coding and like building things. And if you start managing people, you tend to leave that. And that's why you have this other choice. So after you make it past the senior position, senior software engineer position, you can either go to tech lead, which is the management side, that's the people management side, or you get to go the staff engineer route. So I'm going to talk about the tech lead position first. So normally tech leads is this person that makes the final decision over the senior software engineer about anything that happens technically. The tech lead is always in meetings discussing with the business and trying to manage where the project is going technically, and saying if projects can do what the business wants them to do. After that, for the tech lead, they have engineering manager. So basically somebody that manages a subset of engineers underneath them. And then before we go any farther than that, I want to jump back over to the other choice. So you start off as staff engineer, which is essentially somebody that just has the same pull as a tech lead, but they are focused solely on coding. They don't attend as many meetings. They are referred to and brought in on the big technical discussions, but their primary goal is to write code at the end of the day. Then you have the next step up, which is kind of just a more experienced staff engineer. They call them senior staff engineers, just usually a title for somebody that has more experience than just a normal staff engineer. Then after that, about 10 to 15 years of experience, you have the principal engineer. This person is the overall genius of coding essentially in the company. They know everything that's going on with the tech. They are basically the Google of the technology stack that they're working on. They are sometimes used across the companies to build out new initiatives and kind of push projects in the right direction as far as coding standards and testing standards and things like that to make sure things are done correctly. So at this point, you have the principal engineering position and you have the engineering manager position, and they all this is kind of where they come back together. So both positions can either can jump back and forth, or they can move into what is called the director roles of engineering. So basically somebody that's either over an entire team, engineering team, basically going to meetings and making sure that they're staffed properly, making staffing decisions at that level for the engineers that are there. After director, you have VP, depending on the company and the company size. VPs are generally over an entire vertical or silo of a company, depending on how big the company is. And then after that, you have CEOs or head of engineering, depending on the company's CTOs, or head of engineering, depending on the size of the company. That's pretty much the general gist of progressing through the career field. Usually I've seen people progress quicker. I've seen people progress slower than the average. The given time frames is just a general, but it's not the definite. So always keep pushing, and you might find yourself in a higher position than what the general is for you. If you have any more questions about the next steps or anything else with software engineering, make sure you leave that comment down below for me. And if you like this video, hit the like button. Make sure you subscribe, because I plan on releasing a little bit more software engineering content on this channel. See you next time.